Good afternoon, passengers, and welcome back to Astrology Airlines. We are now preparing for departure again, but as we head towards this Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse, please note that we anticipate a very horror-filled flight. If you look out the window, you may notice that blood is oozing from the moon, and that means that we are all in for unexpected twists and turns. When there is a sudden change in cabin pressure, because there will be, your emotional landscape will shift abruptly. For passengers who need to scream into a pillow, those stations will be located on the front and back of the aircraft. And of course, please do keep your seatbelt fastened as we anticipate tremendous amounts of turbulence and non-stop rough air. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Tea service is beginning now. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Aliza Kelly. I am your host and your spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I am so delighted that you're here. This is your weekly brew. I serve it to you hot and fresh every single Monday. The theme of the week is, woo, getting spooky. And the top 3 things you need to know are, we have another eclipse coming up. Yes, we do. It's a lunar eclipse. Oh, you thought eclipse season was over? Ha ha ha. Don't make me laugh. This one is a blood moon, which means that the moon is going to be going through a very eerie metamorphosis, to say the least. It is shifting its color from sparkling silver to dark, otherworldly umber, which means our worlds are also going to be changing in a very big way too. This eclipse is the penultimate event in a series that started all the way back in 2024. And that means that something in your life is preparing to come to a close. And number 3, as if that wasn't enough, this eclipse is not acting alone. No, my friends, it's linking up with Uranus, the planet of shock and awe. And what is extra alarming is when it comes to all things Uranian, the slogan of Uranus is expect the unexpected. But wait, isn't that also what we say about eclipses? Yes, it is. So this is expect the unexpected squared, expect the unexpected exponentially. Well, honey, one thing is for sure. Things are definitely going to get rather spooky. But wait just a gosh darn minute. I didn't say scary, I said spooky. And if you don't know the difference, let me elucidate. Scary is the AI version of Mark Zuckerberg inviting you to join him in the now defunct metaverse. That is scary. Spooky is the energy of alchemy, the energy of change, the energy of the Owen sisters looking up at the Blood Moon 5 midnight margaritas deep. And speaking of which, if you adore the spooky life like I do, have you secured your tickets to my live shows yet? Yes, this October, I am coming to 6 cities to delight you and enchant you with the only spooky season astrology tour that also happens to be a tea party probably in history. It's giving new format, baby, and you are going to love it really and truly. Dress up in your tea attire best, because every show also will have a costume contest where we will select the hot tea of the night. It is going to be an evening filled with astrology readings and maybe paranormal visitations and maybe special guests and just tons of tricks and treats. So get your ticket now for the show in Chicago or Minneapolis or New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco or Beverly, Massachusetts. Yes, right next to Salem on October 30th. How could she? Head over to alizakelly.com/events. That's alizakelly.com/events, and I will see you there. But for the time being, I'm so glad you're here. And thank you for being part of our community, because really, Diva, there is no better place to be on the week of this Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse, okay? Be sure to give me that 5-star rating, that glowing review, and follow and subscribe. Thank you for being here. I am so tremendously grateful, and you are really gonna love what we are serving and pouring up today. So dust yourself off and let's get into it. I will be right back with your pour. Welcome, my beautiful community, to Astrology and your Monday Weekly Brew. It's me, Aliza, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have quite a lot to discuss because we are really in it now. We've really done it now. We are in le thick of eclipse season, and the energy is so dense, honey, you cannot even cut it with a knife, not even if you tried really, really hard. And after everything that we have already been moving through, right, everything that has been shifting and rearranging itself around us, we're still scraping ourselves up off of the floor after that solar eclipse 2 weeks ago, and are finally maybe getting your sea legs, getting your bearings, figuring out how to live, how to move forward, and then bam, what's that? What is going on in the sky? What the hell is going on with the moon? Why is it turning bloody? Yes, ghouls, Halloween is indeed coming early this year because this week on Friday, August 28th, we have a Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse haunting the heavens. And while Europe got the big show of the total solar eclipse 2 weeks ago, this time here in the Americas, we are going to be the ones witnessing this freak fest, this freak on a leash fest. Yes, we will see the moon get bloody. So what is le deal? What is happening? What's wrong with the moon? Well, let's start by acknowledging that under normal conditions, we would be having a full moon this week. Every month, the moon moves through its 28-day cycle, beginning with its new moon phase, waxing and growing brighter until it reaches that full moon state, the culmination, when the sun and moon are in opposite sides of the sky and opposite zodiac signs. And of course, we have a whole episode all about the lunar phases. So if you haven't had a chance to tune into that yet, check it out after this episode. It is a beautiful dive into the moon's journey and what it means for all of us and what it means for you. Do it after this episode because it's a fantastic complement, a fantastic addendum to understanding what makes this full moon different. Astrologically, full moons are those moments where we reach that crisis of consciousness, okay? They are moments of awareness and revelation and culmination and illumination. The moon is at 100% illumination. It's bright and vivid and very opinionated. And under the light of the moon, we can see what was previously hidden. Something is reaching its fullest expression, especially on an emotional level, because the moon is tied to our emotions. But what is happening this week is not a full moon. It is true that the sun and moon will be opposing in the sky, but there's something else going on now. Now the sun, the moon, and the earth are actually lining up, which is spooky. Spooky to think about, right? A lineup like that, just inherently eerie. And the astronomical term for this is syzygy, S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y, which sounds like something a toddler made up. What word is that? Obviously, things get weird when we start throwing around words like syzygy. We get the vibe. We get it. It's abnormal. So during this lunar eclipse, there's syzygy going on. The earth is moving directly between the sun and the moon. And the moon is actually going to be passing through the earth's shadow. So instead of the moon reflecting the sun's bright light the way it ordinarily does during a full moon, that beautiful silver, sparkly, glittery glow, now the moon is reflecting the darkest part of the earth's shadow, the umbra. So the moon is transforming from a cool-toned silver queen into a strange, eerie, rusty, coppery, blood red color, mysterious underworld enchantress. Her whole color season changes. And that is why lunar eclipses are called blood moons. And we obviously know that solar eclipses are jarring. Duh, day becomes night. But blood moons are also very alarming. Very, very alarming. Imagine you, as an ancient ancestor, you in a different body 1,500 years ago, looking up, maybe you need to go to the casual ancient outhouse in the middle of the night, and you look up, and instead of seeing the moon as you know and love her, you see this freaky, spooky, dark, red, unrecognizable figure in the sky. It's giving horror. So don't sleep on the freakiness of a blood moon, because they might not have that day becomes night effect that a solar eclipse does, but these are visually very impactful phenomenon, and they're energetically significant as well. And you know that something is a big deal when it's a big deal astronomically and astrologically. That's really like the deluxe combo platter, okay? And eclipses are indeed that. And from an astrological perspective, eclipses are associated with fate and destiny and karma, major endings, major beginnings, dramatic redirections. They are the disruptors. Eclipses disrupt the normal presentation of daylight and nightlight, moonlight, right? They stop us in our tracks. And astrologically, they correspond with moments in our lives when our own natural rhythms get majorly interrupted and then change forevermore. And lunar eclipses are different than solar eclipses, not just on a visual level, but also energetically and symbolically. During a solar eclipse, the moon obscures the sun, right? It blocks the source of light, which corresponds to radical shifts in our identity and our direction and our purpose, our sense of self and ego and identity. But during a lunar eclipse, it's the moon that goes through this metamorphosis. And because the moon is associated with our emotions and our intuition and our memories, our security, our inner world, this means that all of those themes, all of those aspects of our life go through a transformation. We go through an emotional transformation. The way we feel about something goes through a change. Maybe it culminates because there is a change. We experience our emotions from a different perspective during a lunar eclipse because it's a blood moon. So we see things differently. We feel things differently. We become different. And this particular lunar eclipse is happening with the moon at 4 degrees of Pisces and the sun at 4 degrees of Virgo, which puts us on one of my favorite and most complicated axes. Axis. Hold the fucking phone, you guys. That's it. Pause everything. I have had enough. I've had enough. Frankly, I've had enough. Axes, plural. I get it. Axis. Have you never met someone with a dialect? Have you ever tried meeting someone who comes from a different region than you and pronounces things differently? And it's not because they want to. Do you think I'm sitting here like trying to throw you off in my pronunciation of access versus access? I can assure you that my pronunciation of access is probably very similar to how most people from my time and place, New Yorkers, pronounce that word. I'm not sure. We can poll on it. Have you ever met anyone from Minnesota, for example? Do you know how they say Prague? Do you know how they say milk? It's shocking. But am I here being annoyed? No, I'm being intrigued. I'm curious. I love the way they say things. Have you ever met someone with a California accent? Stunning, gorgeous. Have you ever met anyone with a Southern accent? They sound British to me. I love it. J'adore. So here we are not shaming people for pronunciations, especially when we know what they mean. Okay? Thank you. Rant is over. Now, back to the axis of order and chaos, which is maybe the most tank transition of all. That was both orderly and quite chaotic. Virgo is all about organizing reality. Virgo is the Mercury-ruled earth sign. It is all about information we can categorize, systems we can improve, problems we can solve. And Pisces, its opposite sign, exists on the other end of that axis. Thank you very much. And it is all about the astral realm. It is all about the boundaries that we dissolve. It is the realm of intuition and dreams and imagination and surrender. It is all of the abstract mysteries and the strangeness of the liminal. Pisces is barely even there. Pisces is the intermediary between what exists and what does not exist at all. And because these energies, Virgo and Pisces, are opposing one another, it means that we actually need to work with both. Oppositions in astrology take two seemingly contradictory perspectives. You know, they start staring at each other, they start trying to fight each other, and then we have to sort of step in as the referee and be like, okay, how can you find a middle ground? How can you find the integration? How can you find peace with each other? And my friends, this is not the first time we've been here. In fact, we have been working through this Virgo Pisces eclipse story for almost 2 years now. In fact, this particular chapter, this journey on the Virgo Pisces axis started September 2024. And if you want to understand what this eclipse means for you, think back to your life 2 years ago and start to consider what stories have continued through this axis, through these eclipses through time. Our first eclipse in this series was on September 18th, 2024. Then we had the next one, March 14th, 2025. We had two in September of last year, September 7th and September 21st of 2025. This year, we had one on March 3rd, 2026, and now we have this one on August 28th, 2026. We have one more. The final one in the series is going to take place on February 20th, 2027, so it's a 7-part series. So start to think back. What was going on in your life when this all started? What was happening? What were you beginning to understand about your personal relationship with order and chaos, about control and surrender? What was changing within your routines? Within your relationship with work, your relationship to your body, your spirituality, your intuition, your mental health, your boundaries, right? We're thinking across Virgo and Pisces themes. Honey, you do not need to remember what you had for breakfast. Don't worry about the minutia of September 18, 2024. I need you to think broadly. When you think about that time in your life, what are the main things that stand out to you? Because it is those things, those big things, the things that you remember that are likely the central themes of your eclipse story. And now that we are about to approach the end of it, we have this era, this chapter wrapping up. And that makes it incredibly important that we invite ourselves to really start connecting the dots. What keeps repeating? What began 2 years ago that you can really look at from a different perspective now? What have you been learning, and how have those same lessons been repeating, albeit perhaps from different points of view? Obviously, if you really want to get in there and figure out your eclipse story and look at these dates and understand this Virgo and Pisces influence in your life and really spend the time to illuminate it and activate it in your birth chart, in your story, I'm hosting a coven meeting in the Constellation Club this week on Thursday, August 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Replays are available if you can't make the live. We are going to do a beautiful eclipse workshop all about this lunar eclipse and the eclipses on the Virgo and Pisces axis. Check it out. You're going to love the Constellation Club. You're going to love our coven meetings, constellation-club.com. I can't wait to see you there. But for now, if you are sitting here and you're like, Aliza, eclipse story? I don't know. How could I? How could I start to piece it together? Well, I have good news. I think that you are going to be piecing it together by hook or by crook this week because, honey, something very big is going to be getting worked into this lunar eclipse. This lunar eclipse is doing something very different than all of the other eclipses on this axis have been doing. This eclipse, this lunar eclipse, this blood moon is forming a T-square to Uranus. And that is T. T-square? What? What do you even mean? Okay, a T-square is a very important aspect pattern that is created when we have an opposition. In our case, this is the opposition from the sun and the sun in Virgo, the moon in Pisces, and then we have another planet that is in the same modality. These are all mutable signs coming along and forming a 90-degree angle to both ends of that opposition. Imagine the sun and the moon, they're at it, fisticuffs across the sky, like, let me at him. And then Uranus walks in and is like, actually, I have problems with both of you. And then suddenly there's this strange like triangulation between 3 celestial bodies instead of just 2, more intensity in the mix, more ideas, more opinions. Oh my goodness. Now you may recall that Uranus, not Uranus, don't be disgusting, is the planet of shock and awe. It's revolution, it's rebellion, it's disruption, and eclipses are disruptive to begin with. Uranus is about pushing the envelope, losing the envelope, hating envelopes in general. Uranus hates an envelope. Uranus is famous for the catchphrase, expect the unexpected, but so are the eclipses. So now we have this crazy aspect pattern forming this T-square, which is such T, where everyone's like, expect the unexpected. Okay, wow, wild. Long story short, we are indeed in for a wild ride this week, but I don't want to scare you, okay? Because honey, This is life. Life is the undulation. Life is the freakies. Life is the spookies. Life is the unprecedented paradoxes that help us understand the bigger picture. And don't forget that eclipses are linked to fate and destiny and karma. Yes, they are. So whatever happens now is tethered to those themes. And that means that Uranus's involvement is just helping us get there faster and maybe a little more unexpectedly than we could have ever even imagined possible. Uranus is in Gemini, and this is interesting because Gemini is about information, the 411. So don't be surprised if this week you receive a message. You have a conversation that really breaks things open, okay? You get a piece of information that you really were not expecting. And whatever is revealed is definitely going to change your interpretation of what has been happening perhaps for the last 2 years. And that is wild. That is amazing because this eclipse is going to help you connect the dots. It is going to help you make sense of what this journey has been. You are finally going to understand why things have been happening the way they have been happening. The information that you receive is going to radically change how you see an important person or relationship or job or plan or thing that happened, thing that was good, thing that was bad. Whatever it is, you are going to get insight that you absolutely desperately needed. And this information is going to help you realize why it has, in fact, been destiny chipping away at this narrative all along. This is an eclipse about revelation. So this week, you will be connecting the dots, okay? Pay attention to what you hear. Pay attention to what you learn. Pay attention to what finally, suddenly makes sense. Pay attention to the conversations that really change up the narrative, change up the trajectory. Because honey, a T-square attached to a lunar eclipse, blood moon, now that is tea. Straight from the cauldron. We call it a very spooky brew. And as always, I have your journal prompt for the week ahead. What new information is helping me see an old situation from a radically different point of view? All right, ghouls, let's do it. Let's pull our tarot card for the week ahead to see what this lunar eclipse, this blood moon, is all about. If you're new here, hi, welcome aboard. I'm your captain, Aliza, and here today we are going to get some very important spiritual direction by seeing what tarot needs us to know about this course, this journey we have in front of us. What does it mean? What should we know? What's the T? We already have a T square. Now we have T for tarot. It just doesn't stop. T for temperance. Temperance. Oh, this is really tea. Okay, this is hot tea. T for hot tea temperance. I am freaking out because the one missing link to the T square for the lunar eclipse is Sagittarius, because we have the sun in Virgo, we have the moon in Pisces, we have Uranus in Gemini. They're all coming together. So the missing link of this T square, the release point, is the sign of Sagittarius, the only missing link, mutable baddie, and temperance is the Sagittarius card. Temperance is the card that is associated with the sign of Sagittarius, and temperance for us is about alchemy. It is about transformation. It is about taking what we have learned, what we have discovered, and really bringing it into a higher minded brew. It's an elevation of the brew. It's an elevation of our understanding. Now, this card is also associated with sobriety, moderation, clear thinking, a clear mind, which we need in order to really make sense of what we are being presented with. So it's a reminder not to get too lost in the sauce. I mean, a lunar eclipse in Pisces, that can absolutely be very, very delusional, right? That can take us into some very strange, very substance-coded territories, you know, like some very altered perspectives of reality. We might feel like we want to run away and drown our sorrows in whatever way we sort of, you know, tune out. Temperance is a reminder that part of having a deep and powerful spiritual practice is also having a clear head, a clear mind, and the ability to actually distinguish fact from fiction and separate what is the poison from the medicine. So temperance is absolutely the medicine for us this week. It's the resolve of the T-square that's being formed, and it's such an invitation for us to take whatever we are being presented with and transform it, alchemize it, transmute it into something that is going to be beautiful and functional and wise, and something that is really going to help us understand destiny from a totally different point of view. I'm so obsessed. Temperance. J'adore. Coming up, I have your personalized horoscope, what you need to know about the lunar eclipse, the blood moon, what the spooky ookies mean for you. So stay tuned for your horoscope right after this quick break. Welcome back, ghouls! It's time for your personalized horoscope. As always, a reminder, listen for your sun, listen for your rising, listen for your moon, listen for your mom and your dad and your spouse and your children, your lover and your ex, your crush and your best friend. Just set it and forget it. Start at Aries and cruise through Pisces. Of course, if you want to get into the weeds on a specific sign, use the timestamps, use the chapters, but the whole journey is yours for the taking. So let's dive in. Hello, Aries. This week's lunar eclipse in Pisces, a blood moon. Honey, it is pulling you into the deepest, weirdest, most spooky, ooky, most mysterious parts of your psyche, which I know is not necessarily where you'd like to be hanging out. I know you want to be near the sun, near the light. It's not giving Icarus, but it's also not giving Icarus. You know what I mean? Think about that double negative. But this eclipse is illuminating everything that is happening beneath the surface, Aries. And that means, honey, that we are going to be spending more time in the basement than in the penthouse. This eclipse is connecting you to the story that you started experiencing back in September 2024. Think about what was going on in your life then, Aries, perhaps around themes of routines and work and health and obligations and how you were spending your time. But now, honey, we've got to go deeper. We've got to go beneath all of that. That's the external. What's the internal? We are questioning why you are pushing yourself so hard in the first place. We are questioning why you are trying to keep yourself so damn busy. What are you postponing because it always feels like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Is it strategic planning, Aries? Or is it procrastination rooted in avoidance, rooted in not wanting to face something that you need to face that's going on in your mind? But this week, Aries, you can't avoid it any longer. It's going to stop you right in your tracks. That is the blood moon. Don't be surprised if a plan gets canceled, something that you were counting on falls through. You hear something you were not supposed to hear. It was not meant for you. And that piece of information that you receive unexpectedly is now going to reframe your entire reality. And suddenly, oh, wow, it all makes sense. The pattern makes sense. The thing that you have been avoiding makes sense. And I'm not saying that on the other side of this, you're going to be fully prepared to tackle this all head on, but with Uranus in the mix, Uranus being the planet of unexpected things, you might be more prepared than you think you will be. You actually might be more prepared to face the thing that you have been avoiding for 2 years or more and finally get it done, acknowledge it, say the thing, do the thing, move on, whatever it is, because you have been training for this in your own special way. You have been training for this on an emotional level as well as on a physical level. So buckle up, partner. This week, you're ready for something big to happen, and you can handle whatever it is. Bonjour, Taurus. This eclipse is illuminating your future, which includes your friendships and your communities and your collaborations, your followers, your audience, all of the people who are going to exist within the life that you are trying to build for yourself. Taurus, since September 2024, you have been exploring what actually brings me joy, what actually lights me up. Where can I find my creativity? Where can I find my artistry? How can I do things that are more a reflection of my soul than, the crushing demands of late stage capitalism? we admire it. We respect it. We need it. But now we need to take it to the next level. And we need to also think about who belongs in this future that you are building that is orbiting around your soul's truth. Because not everybody can come. And this week, something is going to change in your social landscape, in your social environment, and it's going to change fast. A friend makes an announcement that affects you more than you could have expected. Or maybe you've been collaborating with someone and then that collaboration feels like it needs to end or change direction. Or you share your goals and your aspirations and your ambitions with someone who you thought you were on the same page with, and they look at you like you have 12 heads. Or worse, actually, maybe you say something about like a big achievement in your life and you look at them and you realize like, oh shit, they're jealous. They begrudge me. They're not actually happy for me. And Taurus, I'm sorry, but that is really pivotal, critical information. You needed that information. And because we have Uranus involved, the planet of shocking things, this is also going to be perhaps activating something around resources or values. There may be literal dollars attached to this. And that means that something very real is at stake right now. So the question and the questions that are coming up for you, Taurus, are tangible. What are the costs of maintaining these relationships? Or what are these relationships costing me? Taurus, this all may result in a really unexpected, very radical, very out of the blue change of plan. And you know what? Good, because the plan was created by an earlier version of you. We love that version, but you've changed. You, in September 2024, honey, it's unrecognizable, okay? That's not you anymore. You have changed so much because you have spent the past 2 years rediscovering what you actually want. And now all of the variables in your external reality are just trying to play catch up, okay? And some people are not going to be joining you on the next adventure. That's okay. And by the end of the week, you're going to have your list. You're going to know who's coming with and who is staying put in the past. Gemini, honey, hi. Okay, so something is happening with your career this week. Something is happening with your identity this week. Something is happening this week. Do you feel it already? This lunar eclipse is activating the very tippy top of your chart, your career, your visibility, your reputation, your ambition, your leadership, your relationship with success. And think back, cast your mind back 6 months ago. We had a lunar eclipse back then too, as a lunar eclipse in Virgo, the 180 of where we are now. And that was really important because that was related to your foundations, your villain origin story. But since then, you have been building from the bottom up. You had to start all the way down here and climb, but you have arrived. You've made the changes. And everything that you have been working on privately, all of that sweat that has been gracing your brow, grab a hanky, honey, because you are about to be in the spotlight and it is all about to become very fucking public. Honey, it's tea. So don't be surprised if a big announcement gets made that directly affects your career, okay? Your success, your ambition, a huge opportunity landing in your inbox. We love to see it. Someone quitting and then suddenly their position is available and you're like, ooh, sorry for them. But yeah, this is actually what I've been waiting for. That's life. That happens. And that definitely happens when we have a lunar eclipse, a blood moon. And there might even be more unexpected, crazy twists and turns like promotions, or maybe you're leaving, or projects are getting greenlit, projects are getting canceled. Someone important notices what you've been doing. You receive some press, you receive some praise. A professional future that you hadn't considered suddenly becomes your next chapter. What? Gemini, it's so much. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. The reason this is so major for you is because Uranus is in your sign. Uranus, the planet of shocking things, is in Gemini, and it's involved in this karmic eclipse. So honey, you are not standing on the sidelines watching this eclipse happen, twiddling your damn thumbs. You are the disruptor, okay? You are the disruption. You are the unpredictable variable. You are the thing that is going to be shaking up everyone else's stories too. J'adore. I love this for you. So whatever you say, whatever you choose, whatever you reject or accept or reveal, that is not just going to make an impact in your life. No, it is going to have a ripple effect and make an impact in everyone else's lives too. No pressure, Gemini, but this is big. This is very big. Very, very big. People are going to be very surprised by what you decide this week. So let them be surprised. Listen, you're not a Gemini for nothing. So keep them guessing. Keep us on our toes. We truly love this about you. Hi, Cancer. This eclipse is expanding your worldview in a major way. You, my darling, are ruminating on the meaning of life, what happens after we die, whether humans actually do in fact need spirituality to create meaning. All of these big, beautiful questions about life and death and purpose. And you know what, Cancer? It's giving Aristotle. It looks good on you. We love it. And also, maybe for you, this is an important step in whatever journey you have been swimming through, because somehow these big macrocosm ponderings are actually directly connected to some of those very practical situations that you have been trying to piece together. Namely, who gets the fucking vibe? Who understands you? Who understands the way your mind works? Where do you belong? Where are you accepted? Since this journey started on the Virgo Pisces axis way back in September 2024, you have been pushing boundaries, testing ideas, thinking of really big things, trying to bring some of these relationships into those higher minded spaces and places. And Cancer, you have collected a lot of wisdom, not just about the way the world works, but who is willing to be on those beautiful, philosophical, musing journeys with you. And this week, you're going to realize that not every relationship is actually going to be able to get as expansive as you need it to be. Maybe you share an idea and somebody just like looks at you and you realize like, oh, they don't get it. They don't get me. Maybe you're excited about this new direction and somebody immediately starts listing all of the reasons it won't work. And you're like, okay, negative Nancy, that's actually not productive. I didn't need that right now. Maybe you find yourself explaining something that has just felt so obvious and alive and exciting to you. It's lit you up. And then you realize that the person across from you doesn't care. They're just like tuning you out. Cancer, that can sting. That can hurt, especially when these are the people that you love, that you trust, that you have respected, that historically have made you feel safe. But I want you to think about what belonging actually means for you now, because belonging is not necessarily staying surrounded by something that you know just because you know it. Belonging requires that you actually step out of the familiar places and travel further than you expected and introduce yourself to people who you didn't know existed and didn't know you existed. Sometimes you actually do need to grow beyond your comfort zone so that you can discover the types of relationships and connections and environments that understand you in the now, that can meet you where you are today. So don't interpret outgrowing a dynamic as evidence that you don't belong, that you're an outcast, that there's no space for you. In fact, Cancer, it's evidence that your definition of belonging has maybe gotten a little too limiting, has gotten too small. Honey, you are expanding beyond the boundaries of the world that you knew before. And yes, within that, there may be moments where you feel lonely or misunderstood or disconnected. That's okay. Keep going and trust that there are people and places and ideas and experiences beyond the edge of what your comfort zone used to be. And when you find them, you will know exactly what they are, and you will feel right at home, safe and sound where you belong. Hello, Leo. Okay, so wow, what a time to be you. This is a very interesting week for you because we need to acknowledge the astrological whiplash of what has been going on here. 2 weeks ago, we had a total solar eclipse in your sign. The lights went out on you, Leo. You experienced this enormous disruption around identity and direction and purpose and who you are and who you're becoming. And finally, you're like, oh gosh, I can see again. But before you even have time to fully process what the hell just happened to you, we have a blood moon lunar eclipse. It's not on the Leo and Aquarius axis, but it is indeed pulling you into a different storyline, asking a different type of transformation of you. And you're like, oh my gosh, can't I just enjoy these final days of August? No, you can't. It's almost September. And now we are talking about what it means for you to really drop into intimacy. And I mean your relationship with what you share and what you give. What is yours and what belongs to others? This could be money. This could be trust. This could be power. These are the complicated entanglements of what happens when your life actually becomes intertwined with reality itself. And Leo, it's not easy, but it is in fact the perfect follow-up to the solar eclipse, because we know that you are changing, right? And inevitably, yes, your agreements are going to need to change too. The agreements that you have made before you started to realize that you are different, that you are evolving. Yeah, an old version of you signed off on those. And now you're like, wait, hold on. Does this mean I have to automatically inherit every single contract and commitment and expectation and arrangement that a version of me that didn't know everything that I know now thought was okay, thought was just fine? No. Things have to change in the way that you relate to others and what it means for you to carry those loads. And this week, that becomes clear. Maybe financial circumstances have changed, and suddenly the numbers that you had previously been okay with need to change too. They need to be renegotiated. Maybe you discover how much you have really been contributing to something compared to everyone else, and you're like, wait, hold on, fuck that. I deserve more. Why am I not being compensated? Maybe this is all emotional, right? Maybe this is all about an energetic exchange. And I want you to pay attention because Leo, there is a big difference between generosity and obligation. You are an incredibly generous sign. It doesn't get talked about enough. You are obsessed with sharing. All you want to do is share. All you want to do is pass the mic. But this week, you are going to see where your generosity has been exploited. And I know that's scary, but perhaps people have been taking advantage of you. And if you're like, wait, what, me? I would have known. That couldn't have happened. Honey, we have a blood moon. Things are going to be exposed that you have never seen through that particular illumination before. And we already know that the past few weeks have changed your boundaries, have changed your commitments. But now you are learning that intimacy isn't just about like bleeding out. It's about knowing where your hard lines are so that when you do step into these very important contracts and negotiations, whether they be professional or romantic, you're merging, investing, trusting, giving up some power, you know that you are safe within yourself because you know what you deserve and what you are not accepting. Leo, it's tea. Virgo, darling, my beautiful honey baby pie. This is a major week for you, a major week with a major inflection point. And I need you, please, s'il vous plaît, understand the scale of what I am alluding to here, because we are not talking about just some like, oh, oops, yeah, that was intense, whoopsie daisy, got to get back on track. Like, no, we are talking about this blood moon lunar eclipse yielding a defining moment in your life. Yes, in the eclipse story that has been unfolding in your sign for 2 years, but honey, that is your life. That is about your destiny, your fate, your karma, all of these big unfoldings around who you are and how you relate to the world. Your purpose, baby. So think about who you were when this whole story began. September 2024, September 18th, 2024, if you're nasty. Think about the relationships that you were in. Think about the people that you were trusting. Think about the agreements that you were making. Think about the partnerships and what you expected those partnerships to look like, what you expected from other people, and perhaps more importantly, even what you believed you had to do or provide or tolerate or accommodate in order for you to hold up your end of the bargain. Because Virgo, over the past 2 years, all of that has been flipped on its head. It has all changed, has it not? These eclipses in your sign and Pisces, your opposite, have demanded that you redefine yourself in relation to how you show up in the lives of others too. It's been about me and you and us and mine and ours and independence and togetherness and autonomy and unions, right? And these themes have been put to the test over and over and over again. And every eclipse that we've had since that first initial one, September 2024, has given you another piece, another vital piece of information about you and the people that you have in your life. And this week, something is reaching a culmination. Someone is going to make a decision. Someone is going to reveal how they really feel. And that might look like a relationship becoming official. It might look like a major milestone finally being confirmed. It might look like a renegotiation, or honey, it may look like an ending. And we know that eclipses open new doors by slamming others shut. So whatever happens, know that you are finally going to be getting the answers to the questions that you have been asking over the past 2 fucking years. Whatever happens, Virgo, you are not leaving this week with the same ambiguity that you entered it with. Virgo, please pay attention to what people show you this week. You are so good at seeing the potential. I know, you are such a sweetie. You are so good at being like, this would work if we repaired, fixed it a little, tweaked it here, but these relationships are not little optimization projects, okay? At some point, you have to work with what is, and you have to stand up for yourself. And then, oh my gosh, we have Uranus in the mix too. We have Uranus, the planet of shocking things, in Gemini. And that means these revelations also might have a lot to do with your career, because Uranus in Gemini is activating the legacy part of your chart. So this is all going to be very visible. Or there might be some unexpected change relating to your professional pursuits. Something is going to happen in your life that raises the stakes and forces relationships to reveal what they are made of. Can they support you when you are really in your ambitious era? Virgo, we are approaching the end of the line, the end of this 2-year story. There is still one more eclipse on this axis, and it's going to be next February. So this isn't the final, but it is the almost final. It's time for us to start bringing in the harvest, collecting it all, okay? This is going to be a very monumental week for you. Don't forget, Virgo, eclipses are about fate. And that means that whatever happens has been destined to happen for your soul in this lifetime. And that's a big fucking deal. Coming up, we have the second half of the zodiac to pour. So stay tuned, because your personalized horoscope is coming up after a break that is going to be so brief, you're not even going to notice. Oh, welcome back. It is time for us to get into part 2 of Le Zodiac. So here we go. Hello, Libra. Okay, this week we are getting very practical, very punctual, because this lunar eclipse in Pisces, this bloody moonie, is hitting the area of your chart associated with your daily life. It's your schedule, Libra. It's your work. It's your responsibilities. It's your routines. It's your time management. But hey, don't call it boring. It's not boring, Libra. This is your life. This is your reality. This is your time. And nothing is more valuable than that. And the story around the sacredness and profundity and importance of your time is one that started building September 2024. And over the past 2 years, these Virgo Pisces eclipses have been pulling you back and forth between your time and what's going on up here, your menti H, okay, your mental health. So we've been trying to find the balance between rest and responsibility. And Libra, no doubt you have learned a lot. You've learned a lot about your own capacity, what you can handle. Maybe you've even teetered on burnout a little bit, because honey, you do have a limit, right? And when you burn through, go beyond that limit, there are consequences. There is a limit to how much you can have on your plate. There is a limit to how many people you can accommodate. There's a limit to how many obligations you can squeeze into your calendar. There's a limit to how many times you can say like, sure, great, I can make it work, even though there's literally only 24 hours in a day. This week, something is going to happen to make one of those limits very obvious. Maybe a deadline moves up and you were not prepared for it, or one of the responsibilities that you have on your plate changes or someone else drops the ball and then that ball lands on your lap and that totally fucks up your schedule. Something that you thought was going to take an hour takes 6 hours. And now your entire ecosystem has changed. And what you thought you could squeeze in suddenly is bleeding out and it's giving blood moon. And this isn't just about all that exists externally. This is also about why it's all happening on an internal realm. Because now, honey, we are going to get to see what happens when the internal realizations actually yield behavioral changes. You need to know what drains you, not just on a calendar management level, but on an energetic one. You need to know what triggers you. You need to know what sends you spiraling. You need to know what you simply do not have the bandwidth for anymore, even if you technically have another hour for it, if you just can't. What your limit is. So you can keep on organizing and scheduling as if this isn't happening, but it's happening. And by the end of the week, it is going to be catching up with you. And how do I know that? Honey, Uranus is involved. Uranus is about shocking things and radical change. And that means something about the way you have been approaching a situation is also about to radically change. You are going to discover something that you did not know before. And maybe, honey, it's going to be a new way of working. And we do love that. Libra, pay attention to what is being interrupted and disrupted, because whatever gets thrown out of whack is actually showing you what needs to be imagined and reimagined, like broadly. Your daily life should be a reflection of what you have learned about yourself over the past 2 years. It shouldn't be stuck in time. We do have one more eclipse to go in this story. It's in February, but this week is a big one. This is the week where something is going to really show you what that hard line is. And when that happens, and if you do this right, you might finally have enough time and space to catch your breath. And that is going to feel really good. Hi, Scorpio. I have tea, not just because it's astrology, but I really do have tea for you, okay? Don't tell the others. I love this eclipse for you. I do. Because after almost 2 years of excavating and editing and eliminating and really reconsidering where the hell your life is going, this week with this bloody Eddie moon is about reconnecting with what makes you happy, what turns you on, what lights you up. Honey, what do you enjoy? What makes you feel creative and curious, excited to be alive? What puts a little pep in that Scorpio step? Because for you, this eclipse is about pleasure and creativity and self-expression and maybe even a little sexuality too. All of these beautiful experiences that remind you that there really is a difference between like living your life and living your life. You know what I mean? That's tea. This has been a major theme over the past 2 years since these Virgo and Pisces eclipses started back in September 2024, because these eclipses have been this undulation between your desires and your vision for the future. You have been considering what I want, what I need, and also like what others want and need, right? And what is the intersection? And Scorpio, over the past 2 years, you have had to get very discerning, very clear about what dreams are yours and what dreams belong to other people. Because if you're chasing other people's dreams, honey, that's not your work. That's not your job. That's not your business. And you are a strategician, right? Like Scorpio, at your core, you are someone who knows how to figure it out. You know who to know, you know where to be, you know how to put the dots together, you know where to find the next opportunity. But this week, you're not thinking about how you can like network your way through this. You're back to the energetics. Don't be surprised if this week you get an idea that you just cannot stop thinking about. Something that you have been making suddenly actually starts getting to a place where you're really proud of it. Or you have an experience that reminds you like, oh, yeah, this is what I like. This is what I want. This is why I am a flesh and blood being and I deserve to live a beautiful life and have people adore me. Go off. Don't forget that we also do have Uranus involved in this eclipse. So that means that whatever excites you may be very shocking. It may actually surprise you in a major way. You might discover that like, oh boy, what I actually have been craving all along is letting loose and relinquishing some control. And Scorpio, there it is. That's the sticky part. You don't want to let loose. You don't want to relinquish control, but these eclipses are about surrender. And with Uranus in Gemini, it's doubling down on that theme for you. So Scorpio, give it a try. You don't need to know where things are going to lead, but if you keep moving in the direction of what feels aligned on a soul level, and you trust the process and you trust all the twists and turns that you need to get there, you will get where you need to go. And where you go is going to be a place where you're really happy to be. Okay, Sagittarius, hi. So I was going to tell you about how you're the unsung hero of this week and this lunar eclipse, but then we pulled the Temperance card, which is your card, and it's like, oh yeah, the universe really needs you to know that while everyone else is getting pulled into the chaos and the tension of the T square, you are the release point and you're giving T for Temperance. Honey, we have the moon in Pisces, the sun in Virgo, Uranus in Gemini, all mutable signs, creating this pressure across these mutable placements that are associated with change. And the one mutable sign that's missing, the one mutable sign that is absent is Sagittarius. You are the completion. You move this from a T square into a grand cross, and a grand cross is go, go, go. So your energy is the way out. T, you put the T in T square. You put the T in Temperance, diva. You are the hottie of the week. And this means that for you, the next few days are all about remembering what you do best. Zooming the fuck out. Bigger picture. Not getting lost in the sauce of a stew that you don't even want to slurp. For almost 2 years, these eclipses across the Virgo and Pisces axis have been dragging you between your public life and your private life, your career and your home, your ambition, your security, where you're going, where you come from. It's exhausting. But now we have Uranus in your opposite sign of Gemini, also throwing relationships into the mix. And suddenly there are a lot of competing needs and opinions and obligations, and everyone has something to say, and you have a lot to consider because now you feel like, oh my gosh, if I actually tried to fulfill all of these responsibilities, I would lose myself entirely. I would drive myself crazy trying to solve every piece of this puzzle. So you know what? Don't do it. You are all about the bigger picture. You are all about the bigger meaning, the philosophy, the faith, the perspective. And this week, things are going to happen, or one big thing is going to happen that reminds you that you already know what matters most. And what matters most is you. So maybe there is this big situational curveball, right? Something changes. A relationship that you thought you could trust suddenly starts to crumble. It starts to unravel at the seams. Something in your career needs attention yesterday, right? You're like, oh my gosh, so many logistics, but hold on. Here's the answer. It just simply requires that you turn on that well of courage that courses through your veins. Because Sagittarius, you know what matters and you know what's bullshit. And that perspective of little things that are annoying versus big things that actually are going to still be impacting your life in 5 years, that's the solution. For you, Sagittarius, this all is resolved by you trusting yourself. You cannot make every person happy. You cannot fulfill every responsibility and obligation, okay? You cannot wait until everything is optimized 10 out of 10 before you take the next step. At some point, you just have to trust where you are in space and time and place. And that, honey, is your compass. So if this week feels like it is sending you on a wild goose chase, it is. But you love a wild goose chase. There's nothing that delights you more. So go on the wild goose chase and remember what actually is important, what actually matters. Yes, this eclipse may be creating pressure from every direction, but you are uniquely equipped to handle it. The way out is by trusting what you know and choosing the direction that expands your world and just fucking going for it. T. Hey, Capricorn. Okay, so this week, something is going to change in the way that you understand your understanding, your understanding of what the hell has been going on for the past 2 years. This week, we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces, a blood moon. And for you, it is going to be activating and illuminating and bringing forth some very important conversations that actually have been circulating for a few years since this whole journey started back in September 2024. Conversations that you have been trying to make sense of, that you have been really processing and hoping that they can offer some clarity about like your relationships and your place in the world and what it means for you to be who you are. It's been 2 years of trying to figure things out. And I am delighted to tell you that this week you are about to finally get a very important piece of information, perhaps the missing piece that you have been looking for. For the past 2 years, you have been really changing what you believe to be true. And this is not easy for a Capricorn. Your philosophies have evolved. Your expertise in certain fields, in certain areas has deepened. You have accrued a lot more wisdom. Maybe you've had some experiences that have really changed your perspective on what you thought you knew about life in general. And Capricorn, you love knowing. Obviously, you want the facts, you want the information, you want the wisdom, but you also want the evidence. You want to understand why things are the way they are and how all the pieces fit together. But this eclipse in Pisces is reminding you that sometimes you need to understand something on one level before you can understand why things are the way they are in totality. This week, you get a piece of information that you have been desperately looking for. And that comes by way of a phone call or an email or a conversation that you or someone else has been putting off. You get something that maybe you have been avoiding or looping around or that they have not wanted to share with you. And this means that your read on something is going to completely change. Your perspective is going to change, even though you may not know what it means in totality. And it might be hard to face that, right? It might be hard to face this piece of information because when you get it, you're like, oh shit, I actually have been knowing that, but I haven't wanted to look at it. But once you get it, honey, you're going to know that it feels better to have it than be left in the dark. And don't forget that we have Uranus involved in this eclipse. So whatever you learn this week is going to be shocking. That's just inevitable. Capricorn, you have spent the past 2 years on this axis trying to figure this out. And now it's going to arrive. So pay attention to what gets said. Pay attention to that piece of information that feels like a eureka moment. Pay attention to what arrives unexpectedly. And even if it is not easy to swallow, you'll be glad that it is finally yours to process and integrate because now you're going to know what you want to do with it. And you're going to be able to make some new and better plans around it. It's tea. Hello, Aquarius. Okay, so this lunar eclipse is about money, but not just dollars, okay? Not just money in the bank account. No, Aquarius. This is about your relationship with what it means to have enough. That's big. This is the culmination of a story around finances and values and worthiness that has been unfolding since this whole thing began way back September 2024. These eclipses have been pulling you, really forcing you to reimagine your relationship with your own resources and resources at large, the resources that you have access to. You've been considering what's yours, what's theirs, what you earn, what they earn, where are you dependent, where are they dependent on you? It's been a lot. And over the past 2 years, you have discovered that money is really never just money, honey. Money is freedom. Money is power. Money is choice. Money is the ability to leave. It's your choice to stay. It's your willingness to take a risk because you can trust that you have a safety net, or it's you not feeling equipped to take a risk because you don't have a safety net. And this is especially interesting timing right now because just 2 weeks ago, we had a total solar eclipse in Leo, your opposite sign. And that was all about really illuminating changes within your partnerships and agreements and interpersonal dynamics. And yeah, the nodes of destiny are now on your axis too. They're in Leo and Aquarius, which means this whole new story is unfolding. But still, we're finding ourselves working through this larger narrative that we have been trying to unravel for the past 2 years. We still have unfinished business on this Virgo and Pisces axis. And this week, something about financial needs, something about money, something about worthiness is going to need to be understood before you can really move forward into this next new narrative. So what is that going to look like? Maybe it's going to be in the form of an offer. Maybe you're going to get an unexpected expense that forces you to confront your relationship with security. Maybe you have to look at your earnings or your savings or what you have been giving away, what you have been bleeding out, what you have been accepting, and then the cost of accepting what that is. There's an emotional story embedded in the numbers. There always has been, and there always will be. And with Uranus, your planetary ruler, also wrapped up in this, the realizations that you are going to be having this week will probably be surprising. Something you want, something you're building, something that you realize you need takes money to make. And now you're realizing that you having that flow in your life is actually important, and perhaps more important than you had been giving it credit for. Aquarius, there are people who have enormous amounts of money who never feel safe, who never feel secure. And there are people who do not have nearly what these other people have, and they feel stable. So what is that emotional angle? What does wealth mean for you? What are you actually trying to build and create and get into your bank account when you are looking for money, right? Is it freedom? Is it time? Is it pleasure? Is it independence? Is it proof of success? Is it proof of security? Think about what money and worth mean for you, because you are going to be confronted with lots of situations this week that really make it obvious where you stand and also where you need to go. So this is a big week for you, Aquarius. The hits keep on coming in this eclipse season portal. So stick with me, kid, because no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. Pisces, darling, it is about time. You are the MVP of the week. This is your lunar eclipse. This is your bloody moon. It's happening at 4 degrees Pisces. The moon is illuminating your sign in a very spooky, ooky way, which means your identity, your body, your sense of self, it's all going through a metamorphosis. Think back to how you felt in your body, in your identity, when this whole journey started 2 years ago, September 2024. Because honey, what happens this week is a major moment of culmination. You are not watching the story unfold around you anymore. Baby, you are the story. You are the entire narrative. Think back to who you were 2 years ago, okay? How would you have described yourself then? What did you want? What did you think your life was going to end up looking like? Does it look like what you thought it was going to look like? What roles were you playing in your life then? Partner, friend, employee, artist, caretaker, whatever. Are you still playing those roles, or have they changed? Were those roles an accurate representation of who you actually are? Because Pisces, this is your opportunity. This is your moment to realize that your identity is fluid. You are not stuck. You are never stuck. This week, there is going to be something that makes your metamorphosis undeniable and frankly unavoidable. You are going to have to make a decision that you probably would not have been faced with 2 years ago. And maybe there's something about you that rises to the occasion in a different way than you would have been able to 2 years ago. Maybe that means you leave something behind. Maybe that means you don't give a fuck what people think about your decision. Pisces, that doesn't sound like you. Well, honey, you've changed. You've grown. You've transformed. Maybe there is something that is going to happen in your life this week, and you realize, holy shit, my life has changed in such small ways over these past 2 years that old version of me doesn't even exist anymore. And that's the eclipse. That's the revelation. It's realizing how much you've changed. But of course, Uranus is involved too. And Uranus is unexpected things. Uranus is in Gemini. So this is activating the very foundation of your chart. So what this means, Pisces, is that we're just not getting a little nip tuck. We are actually going way down to the studs. We are rebuilding your identity from the ground up. Does that sound scary? Don't be scared, because Uranus is the planet of liberation. So whatever shifts are happening at a foundational level are actually freeing you, Pisces. This is liberation. This is you being able to tap into parts of your soul that you have not been able to access before. Pisces, it's huge. It's major. It's the reminder that nothing is permanent. Your life is evolving around you just as your environments are evolving around you. But there is ultimately a core, right? That's your soul. You are the MVP, so let yourself have a big fucking moment this week. Pisces, this is your invitation to get spooky, get witchy, and if you need to get a little weird, well, honey, who could blame you? It's a blood moon in your sign. You are allowed to get weird. And that is all for today. What did you think? What did you love? Let me know in your comments. Let me know in those 5-star reviews. And if you don't like my dialect, well, honey, that hurts my feelings. I'll see you on Wednesday, and I will see you next Monday. Make sure you follow and subscribe so you never ever miss one of these tasty, delicious brews. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community, and I will see you in just 48 hours. Au revoir.